All right, let's dive right into the world of corporate divestitures. Now, these aren't just your run-of-the-mill sales anymore. They've really morphed into these huge strategic maneuvers that are, frankly, becoming more common and way more complex every single day.
So that brings up the big question, right? Why are these corporate breakups booming? What's going on that's driving this massive trend of companies selling off entire chunks of their business?
And just how big is this trend? Well, get this. A recent Deloitte survey found that over 70% of executives expect to divest parts of their company. 70%. So this is not some fringe activity. It's now a core part of modern corporate strategy, really driven by the need to be more nimble, more focused, and, of course, to generate cash.
And when there's so much at stake, it's really no wonder that divestitures are now being compared to complex military deployments. And when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. The need for precision, the high stakes, the incredibly intricate planning. This military metaphor is the exact lens we're going to be using for our entire explainer.
Okay, so here's our mission briefing for today. We're going to start by surveying the battlefield to really understand the challenges. Then, we'll look at the generals, the kind of leaders you need to pull this off. We'll explore the command center, which is your governance structure. Then, we'll talk about forming the alliance with the buyer. And finally, we'll cover the essential rules of engagement for a successful mission.
All right, first up, let's survey the battlefield, because to succeed in any operation, you first have to understand the complex environment where it all takes place.
You know, the modern business battlefield is defined by just intense pressure. Companies are shedding what they call non-core assets, so they can sharpen their strategy, generate cash, and respond faster to a market that's changing all the time. But the real complexity, the thing that makes this so hard, comes from untangling these deeply intertwined international operations. And often, you're doing this while managing multiple deals at the same time. If you get this wrong, you're looking at major disruptions and a huge loss of value.
An operation of this scale absolutely requires strong leadership, which brings us to Section 2, the generals. So who do you actually put in charge of something this critical?
Well, the best generals for a divestiture have three key qualities. First off, they have deep connections to the unit that's being sold. They know the people, they know the processes, they know all the potential landmines. Second, they have prior deal experience. This is absolutely no place for on-the-job training. And third, and this one is huge, they have the visible, active support of senior management, the top brass. That backing gives them the authority they need to make the tough calls and get the best people on their team.
Every successful military campaign needs a headquarters, right? A central hub for all the planning and coordination. In a divestiture, we call this your command center.
Now, at the heart of this command center is the SMO, or the Separation Management Office. And look, this isn't just another project management office. The SMO is the central nerve center for the entire operation. It tracks everything. It identifies risks, and it makes sure that critical problems get in front of the right people, and fast. So here's how that chain of command really works. At the very top, you've got the Executive Steering Committee. That's your top brass, making the big strategic calls. In the middle, you have the SMO, the command center, coordinating the whole effort. And then you have the people executing the plan, the functional teams, your HR, IT, and finance experts. They are the troops on the ground, making it all happen.
Now, a modern divestiture isn't a battle against the buyer. This is a key mindset shift. It's about forming a strategic alliance to make sure the transition is smooth for everyone involved.
A really critical tactic for building this alliance is something called the two-in-the-box approach. So for each crucial function, let's say HR or IT, you pair a leader from your team with their direct counterpart from the buyer's team. They literally share responsibility, working together in the same virtual box. This ensures tight collaboration and minimizes risks right from day one.
And you know what? This alliance model creates a super powerful and clear way to solve problems. In fact, something like 70% of all issues get resolved right at this first level by those two-in-the-box functional teams. They are your first line of defense.
Okay, but what about the trickier cross-functional problems? Well, that's about 25% of them, and those get escalated up the chain. These are handled by the command center, which is the seller's SMO working hand in glove with the buyer's version of it, the Integration Management Office, or IMO.
And that leaves just the final 5%. These are the most critical, most strategic issues, the ones that could blow up the budget, the timeline, or even the deal itself. These get escalated all the way to the top brass, the Joint Executive Steering Committee, for a final, decisive ruling. So finally, let's cover the rules of engagement. Because every successful campaign needs a set of guiding principles, and for divestitures, there are 6 that are absolutely essential for victory.
First, you have to start with the end in mind. From the very beginning, leadership needs to communicate a crystal clear vision for the deal. What does success actually look like? Everybody on every team needs to be fighting for the exact same objective. Second, maintain business momentum. A major deployment like this can be completely all-consuming, but you cannot let it distract you from the core mission. The goal is to kind of fence off the separation work so that the rest of the business just keeps humming along smoothly. Now, the third principle is absolutely crucial. Prioritize a seamless day one. That separation date, it has to be treated as a fixed, non-negotiable deadline. Doing that creates this powerful sense of urgency, and it forces every team to focus on what truly matters to make that handoff a success. Fourth, foster that partnership. Remember the alliance we talked about? When you view the buyer as a long-term partner, it opens up all sorts of opportunities beyond just the initial deal. Things like ongoing commercial agreements that can create new revenue streams for both of you.
Principle 5 is all about the people. Balance your talent decisions. You have to be so careful about managing which employees stay and which ones go to the new company. The goal here is to create 2 strong, viable organizations after the deal closes, not to weaken one just for the benefit of the other.
And finally, number 6, establish command and control. This one really brings it all together. A successful divestiture requires an effective command structure. That powerful SMO acting as the single source of truth to coordinate all the moving parts and enable the kind of rapid, decisive action you need to win.
So, the key takeaway is this. Treating a divestiture like a complex military deployment gives you an incredibly powerful framework for success. It forces you to think strategically about your leadership, your structure, your alliances, and your rules of engagement. Which really leaves just one final question. Is your organization ready for its next deployment?